a unified mission and vision that best represents what I've been talking about, the resurrection of the angelic human. It's my attempt at reconciliation, at reconciling war, disease, and poverty in this world. It's my attempt to conduct, no, that's ghastly. I don't conduct anything, but for us to universally conduct an orchestra or a symphony that reconstitutes our majesty, our common dignity.
Prove to me that you are alive.
And that the wicked are scared. Sacha, what I wanted to ask you, can you please talk to the people that only know Islam and maybe Sufism from TV? Why Sufism? Why Islam? And what don't the mainstream people know about Islam?
Well, it's a hard one because people are so belligerent and so blind and so stupefied and so mind-fucked by the cult programming of dogmatic religion, especially dogmatic Christian religion, which is the most dangerous one because it's dogmatic Christian religiosity which has ended up with synthetic molecules poisoning every living system on Earth and with atomic bombs going off. So let's be clear. It is the imperialist Western gestalt or the mindset of the Western Christian mindset that it has been most weaponized. But then you have to look at what's weaponized it. Well, it's been crypto-Judaic, Sabbatean crypto-Judaism has been the genesis or the cornerstone of that cult programming. So the Sabbatean crypto-Jewish or Khazarian mafia element, which has nothing to do with the beautiful Judaic faith, that is highly weaponized. That's the piece that was orchestrating the white imperial Christian world. So it was, again, interplay. And then you've got the Islamic, in a sense, to try and answer the question, the mystical element of the Sufic strains within Islam, in a sense, is the most innocent and has been the most abused. So when you talk about fundamentalist Islam, and I'm living in the biggest Islamic country in the world, I'm here in Bali. Okay, Bali is a Hindu, Buddhist kind of weird little island in the middle of 17,500 islands that make up Indonesia. And Indonesia is the biggest Muslim population in the world. So only Bali out of 17,500 islands is not Muslim. It's the only island that's been left alone. So this is a fully weaponized country. Indonesia is the biggest 300 million plus Muslims in the world. Are they true Muslims? No, absolutely not. They're orchestrated, engineered Muslims. They are fundamentally animist, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, and maybe a bit of Mohammedan in the mix. But they've been fully weaponized since the 1940s, since this country, Indonesia, was orchestrated out of the fog of the Second World War in order to consolidate the gold holdings of Southeast Asia. So when you understand how Indonesia was literally a manufactured country, overnight the Sabbateans manufactured it to consolidate these 17,500 islands and to try and get all the gold in those islands to be canoed into a centralized gold holding. And that became the Sukarno presidency in the 1940s. And the language of Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia, was literally created by Oxbridge linguists and interposed onto the people overnight. So go figure. This is a helter-skelter country that was manufactured 75, 80 years ago out of nothing. And all of the original organic culture was bleached, sterilized, and disassembled by these imperial agendas. And the gold holdings of Southeast Asia, principally Indonesia, ended up becoming the underpinning to the global economic system. So it was what underpinned the post-World War dollar, was gold from Indonesia lent to Fort Knox and the U.S. Treasury Department. And of course, the U.S. Treasury Department took the gold and then promised that they would pay the bearer on demand and gave federal safekeeping receipts every month to the Indonesians in return for the gold. And then as those notes matured and Indonesia knocked on the U.S. Treasury door back in the 50s and 60s and 70s saying, hey, it's been 10 years since the Second World War, since we lent you all our gold, America. Could you pay back some of what you owe us so that we could build our own roads and bridges and have some infrastructure ourselves whilst you're doing Elvis Presley and fucking ice cream and popcorn in America in the 50s? Could we actually have some of our value back, please? So we could build schools and clinics and roads. And the Americans said no, they just didn't pay out. And then another 10 years goes by, and then, Sukarno sends in his military generals knocking on the door of the Treasury saying, hey, could we please have some money back? And the U.S. were like, no, spin, never pay debts in that sense. And so, then there were coups and counter coups, and Sukarno's out, and Suharto's brought in, and then Gustu Abdurrahman Wahid, the president of Indonesia 20 years ago, who's a friend of mine. It's the reason why I'm here. He was a Muslim, not an imam, but he was a scholar of Islam and a beloved man and the mystical traditions. And he was a fierce president. And I had a relationship, a friendship with him. He was the one who brought me to Bali, President Abdurrahman Wahid. And that was the connection of my Islam, because he understood that I was also working at that time to create a bridge between the Judeo-Christian and the Islamic mindset and try to diffuse that clash of civilizations, which was otherwise being orchestrated by very evil forces. Sorry, I've probably gone completely off track with what you were asking, but you were speaking about Islam and about what it is that people know or don't know sufficiently about it. And I would say that the essence of Islam is exactly the same as the essence of the Cathars and the Essenes and the mystical traditions of the Christic faith, and the same as the mystical traditions of the Judaic faith, so to speak. They're all the same, and they all speak to the same source code. And when we get into the factionalism and the sectarianism and the fractured thinking, it becomes very much a disease. Again, a human mind virus, and how we permit ourselves and allow ourselves to be orchestrated by these invisible masters. That's where the shame lies. And that's why I represent an archetype of absolute defiance and say, no, it's absolute alpha omega jurisdiction. I am the alpha omega. I am the Godhead. I am creator. I am the golden ticket. I am I am the Rubicon. I am the spiral of Alcyone. I am the stairway to heaven. And we, all of us, I think, start to recognize that we are the full embodiment of God, and we are sons and daughters of God. And there was never a separation between ourselves and the majesty of immanent divinity. And only the illusion of separation is what we variously allowed to creep into our psyches and distress us against our true divinity. So there you have it. The more human beings, and to be divine and to recognize one's own divinity is to recognize one's own frailty, is to recognize one's own humanness. That's why I don't try to couch my language in too much of a spiritualized thing, because I know I drop F-bombs precisely in order to stop this perception or misperception that I am a spiritual teacher, because I'm not. I don't regard myself as that. I regard myself as a perfectly flawed, angelic human in the process of living my best life in an effort to resurrect that angelic human quanta into full manifestation. And I believe that you're the same. So, us good humans, we find ourselves, do we not, through this great galactic sleep? We find ourselves simply through frequency. And it's that frequency alignment that ultimately unifies and creates this beautiful upshift. And that is something that I've seen over the years when I've squatted in the mud, as I've just done in sub-Saharan Africa. I literally got back 3 days ago, and I've been traveling in the last few weeks through Botswana and Zambia, Barotseland, Zimbabwe, parts of sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, that I've not visited for 40 years since I was, a kid. And I have to say, very humbling it was too, really humbling moving through these spaces in Africa for the last few weeks, like, in the mud. But yeah, I've seen this as I've lived in the Middle East. I've lived in Southeast Asia. I live half my life in Mexico now at Bacalar, the New Earth Sanctuary that we're developing in Bacalar in Mexico. I'm very conversant with, living, and in 3 weeks' time, I'll be back in Mexico. Then I'll be in Puerto Rico. Then I'll be in Hollywood. And then I'll be on tour in America for 6 weeks. Then I'll come back to Africa. And then I'm going to be touring 22 countries in Europe. Then I'm in the Mediterranean for 8 different countries on tour. So I am constantly moving, having conversations with brown skin, black skin, red skin, yellow skin people all around, and white skin people all around the world, having this quantum human conversation. And all I see is the same perfect frequency, because that's what I attract. And I'm
Yeah.
finding it all around the world. I'm just seeing the common angelic human on the cusp of a macro resurrection, and it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, this also, when you're speaking about that you're about to go and travel the whole world and everything, it reminds me that you didn't say no to us, and that proves something, that you're willing to extend your hand and come and talk to people and have that connection. So again, this shows, and I'll forever be thankful, and I will forever remind you that you are a blessing and a gift. I always like to tell good people, remember, you're a blessing and you're a gift to this world. So the whole world knows you as the founder. If I'm saying something wrong, please correct me. The founder of New Earth Movement. What is the New Earth Movement? How did you come to it, and what is it?
It is a movement, and it's a very schizophrenic movement, and it's a very noble movement. It's a conundrum to me. It's the, I guess, my attempt at consolidating a unified mission and vision that best represents what I've been talking about, the resurrection of the angelic human. Um, it's my attempt at reconciliation, at reconciling war, disease, and poverty in this world. It's my attempt to conduct. No, that's ghastly. I don't conduct anything. But for us to universally conduct an orchestra or a symphony that reconstitutes our majesty, our common dignity, and our divinity. So it's a very complex, in that sense, concept, the New Earth Project. It's not my attempt to set up a hippie commune or to create a set of golden rules for humans. There are no rules in the New Earth movement. And I don't recognize boundaries, and I don't recognize a codex or a rule book. and anyone who tries to construe rules are not understanding the quantum nature of the reality that I am wishing to conjure into play. So the new earth has expresses itself and has expressed itself in different ways. The New Earth University, which has done very good work and has almost 26,000 registered students online. That's a piece. The International Tribunal for Natural Justice, which I founded 10 years ago now in 2015, that's done superb work on the international stage in conducting judicial commissions of inquiry into human trafficking, child sex abuse, weaponization of the biosphere, COVID, Corona scam, really going into those spaces, and now about to launch the Judicial Commission of Inquiry in 2025 into the doctrines of discovery, which is the Vatican crimes and the crimes of the Catholic Church over the last 500 years, which really has been the whore of Babylon, which ran amok and desecrated humanity in so many ways, which the idiot Catholic Church is going to have to wake up to. I'm not going to be polite anymore about it. It's a godless a construct. I don't disavow the fact that there are millions of very, very good and noble humans who are entrained into the Catholic nonsense.
Prove to me that you are alive.
But the fact of the matter is that Catholicism is a goddamn abomination. And I'm sorry if it offends religious sensibilities. I'm sorry, not sorry, because it's time to put away childish things. It's time to throw away that the frankincense and the myrrh and the idolatry and the iconoclasticism that has clouded the true Christic faith under the guise of Catholicism. So it's over. Government and the satanic institution of the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization, the Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, the International Finance Corporation. I could name 200 multilateral agencies and institutions that have utterly destroyed our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with the sacred soil, our relationship with the living creatures of the soil. The field of reality that we inhabit today has been utterly destroyed and desecrated as a direct extension of the Catholic Church as it manifested into this technology called government, private owned corporations masquerading as governments, which have taken full control, ownership and containment of the fabric of human soul through the registration of births and deaths and tractors and bicycles and land and everything else that's registered to the crown or to the corporation. All of that is a travesty and abomination in the eyes of the living God. And I stand there wielding the sword of St. Michael with whoever will join me on that front line and declare abject war against the technology of government, of taxation, of theft, and of the heist of humanity that's underway. So that 500 years of hegemony of the imperial crowns of Europe over the world and the discovery of the new world, America back in the day, not just America, but all parts of the globe. You have to see it in a very simple, reductive way. There's a twisted little man called a pope with a fucking pointy hat and a bunch of cardinals with red booties in the Vatican. And they give with impunity, grant the benediction to the crowns of Europe that they can go forth and conquest the world in the name of God, and they can murder all the black skin, brown skin, red skin, yellow skin people in the world with impunity and plant a flag and claim dominion in the name of God. And so granting permission to those imperial crowns of Europe who were all mind-fucked into the Vatican complex, they go forth, and the Portuguese and the Spanish and the French and the English and the Germanians, they go forth, and the Austro-Prussians and all the rest. They all go forth and plant their idiot flags in the soil, consecrate the soil in the name of God, and then murder and butcher the natives, steal the gold, claim the land in the name of God on behalf of their country and their flag. And so that then became the world as we know it today, which is this absurd atlas with straight lines creating these fictions called countries, privately owned corporations, again masquerading as governments. And the living souls, whether you're a cow or a sheep or a human being, you're registered to that crown, to that state, and you are contained as a bond in the Treasury Department and the central bank of that privately owned corporation masquerading as a government. And then you are traded on the floor of Wall Street and the stock market as chattel, and you don't even know it. And your birth bond and your death bond is traded even after you're dead. We're being traded, and we don't even know it. It's insane. The whole proposition of so-called reality is an insane proposition. The way that we've allowed our reality matrix to construe. So I'm a shock poet. That's my critical nature. I'm diplomat. I operate ahead of state level and with royalty. In the last 2 weeks alone, I've had dinners and lunches with kings and queens and political leaders in Africa. And I'm not going to drop the names now. People who follow my work closely and my newsletters know exactly what I'm doing because I'm always putting it out there. But the point is, I'm operating at that level. I'm meeting with hereditary leadership. I'm meeting with political leadership. I'm meeting with cultural and spiritual leadership. I'm having conversations, and I'm trying to engender, to the best of my ability, something that makes sense, and that is New Earth Project. So University, International Tribunal for Natural Justice, the World Hereditary Council, which I'm just launching with its secretariat this spring in Tennessee, USA, will be proclaiming that shortly in the next few months. But there are other elements to the New Earth Project, New Earth Technologies, which is something that I've been incubating different technologies for the last few years. And this year, 2025, by the grace of God, we start to release some of that technology interface, which I'm very excited by, because putting so-called free energy technology out to the world, and I'm not claiming that we're the only ones doing it. There's so many people who have the propensity to do it, but not the balls. There are many outfits that know about hydroxification of water and free energy technology, magnetic systems, and blah blah blah, but don't have the nous or the balls or the resources to be able to get those technologies into the marketplace, so to speak. Well, I wouldn't try to get them into the marketplace, but I certainly would get them into our movement and into the hands of our people in the New Earth movement. So that's how I'm doing it this year. We've already established New Earth now as a diocese, as an ecclesiastically protected diocese. So we've established ourselves as a Vatican complex, or as a Crown of England, or as a Basel, Switzerland. We've got that same universal, irrevocable corporation, soul, and trust structures now nested in to create our diocese. And we're protecting the different moving parts of the New Earth Project through that artifice. And I'm very happy about that. So this year, 2025, is the year of us, in a sense, coming out of the closet as a diocese. And if people want to cry cult, fine, call us a cult, but we'll be powering up our own communities on our own microgrids with our own free energy systems. We'll be living in our own sanctified jurisdictions in Africa, Central South America, Southeast and North America as well. Tennessee Project will be announced in the next few weeks. So yeah, we're just getting on. New Earth Project is getting on with the business of establishing jurisdiction, buying the land, cleansing the soil, establishing jurisdiction, powering up our own communities, and looking inwardly as a 0-point economy and a 0-point social ecology, which is to say, purging out third-party intervention, which is what big box company, Silicon Valley, the high street, mainstream media, the banking institutions, insurance and reinsurance, all of that stuff doesn't belong in a conscious society or a conscious community. So we're getting on with the process of evolving into a syntropic, inward looking, but very inclusive social, I don't want to say social compact, but that's essentially what it is. Everything is based on contracts. And the consensus that is emerging through the New Earth Project is good, bold, strident, godly human beings coming together in a fellowship that actually makes sense. That's what the New Earth Project is essentially all about. So it's a bit of a conundrum, but it's real and it's manifesting now in real time.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, congratulations. And again, I cannot thank you enough, man. I'm going to keep thanking you because the movement has grown into something so beautiful. So many of messengers, if you will, have arisen from it. When you were speaking, I remember that a huge transformation spiritual for me was when I actually came to study in the Vatican. I was 19 years old. And I realized all of a sudden how religion and history has been weaponized against the Slavic people. And, a lot of people always say the brown people and all the other people always forget the Slavic people. The Slavic people have been conquered and divided and that, and wars are nonstop. So I wanted to also give a shout out to the Slavic people, my people, your people, everyone's people.
Let me speak to that. Let me speak to that. And I really appreciate you saying that. And thank you for the slight course correction there. Yes, I'm white skinned, so I carry kind of generational guilt. And that plays out in the way I'm seeking remedy in this world on behalf of the black skin, brown skin, red skin, yellow skin people. But you are entirely correct. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the white skins have been more weaponized in a sense than anyone else. That is almost certainly the truth. And there's a reason for it. Number one, the angelic, the let's say the cosmogenetics that are encoded inside the Nordic and Slavic Aryan race is absolutely very akin to the angelic, and the resurrection of the angelic human will needfully be led as a genetic vanguard in the Nordic genes. That is almost entirely correct. And that is why the Aryans have been subjected to such evil and pernicious attacks by, again, the Sabbatean, crypto, Khazarian, Jewish bullshit. Yeah. So we're not supposed to say this. I've been banned from multiple theaters in the U.S. recently. My favorite theater in America is called the Miners Foundry in Nevada City. And I understand that the woke pieces of shit who are running the Miners Foundry just ejected me. I had a show booked for February, and they've just banned me from that theater. And I'm very sad because I love the theater. It's got such an incredible history. But they've got these ghastly woke creatures calling themselves trustees who've taken control in Nevada City. Nevada City, a classically woke and idiot liberal intellectual enclave. So they've banned me. I've been banned from Hollywood theaters because I was planning to do some stuff, and I had shows booked there. They've banned me. It's happening all over the place. And when you discover why, when we look into it, why is Sacha Stone a nobody being banned from important theaters? It turns out that I am anti-Semitic. And obviously it's because I'm a Jew hater. I don't know where that came from. I've never understood where that came from, except for the fact that I have come out and called out the crypto, Sabbatean, Khazarian crypto Jews as being what they are. Pernicious, odious salamanders who have nothing to do with the great Judaic faith, who have infiltrated and co-opted the color of Judaism in order to perpetrate their evil in this world. That means I am now anti-Semitic. So when we're played into that dialectic and painted into that dialectic, there's very little we can do. So I'm shadow banned. I'm outright banned. Yeah. YouTube, from theaters, from performing, from being heard, from being seen. Certainly, the mainstream media avoid me like the plague, and that's because mainstream media is smart enough to know that when it really comes down to the wire, I'd knock their head off with a
Yeah.
baseball bat intellectually and forensically as well on any
And
subject.
vibrationally, if they will let you, the masses see, then a transformation would happen, and that's what they're afraid of, because we're super shadow banned too, man. And I always tell my listeners that I'm glad that we are shadow banned, because that's telling me that we are on the right path. That's telling me that they're scared of something, so, man, you're so you're so incredible, man. I'm like, I'm glad that I came into this dry, man. I specifically told myself, don't watch anything, because when you come, indulge, and I'm indulging right now, and it's so beautiful. I wanted to ask you, like, don't you think it's really weird, but I guess it's a classic move, how they took a word woke, and now we associate it with like these lunatic liberists, liberals, man. What happened there, man? How did that come about? Because I remember 15 years ago, me saying I'm woke was like a good thing, and then all of a sudden, we're here. Like, what the heck?
Prove to me that you are alive.